Well, subscribers and friends, it's been almost a month since I've done a video. I figured I would do at least one more video. I plan on doing at least another video before the end of the year, starting into 2023. But a lot has been going on. I've had to work different shifts and working and the Christmas holidays and all that stuff and watching the Christmas movies and Christmas episodes. Just get stuck doing the same old routine thing during the holidays and helping out my mother and all that other fun and interesting stuff. Putting up, I didn't put a tree this year in my house, but maybe next year I will. I was at her house and she put up her little tree in memory of her daughter, my sister. Anyway, let's just get to the review. Now, today's review is something I've been wanting to do for quite some time. And now is the best time to do it since we're leading into the year 2023. And hopefully 2023 is a lot better than the last 2 years. And we can actually look forward to a lot of great movies, a lot of great horror films, a lot of great memories that I can bring to the table as far as doing movie reviews and stuff. But I do have a lot of stuff going on next year, so we'll see how everything goes. But like I said, I'm going to try to do at least one more video before the end of the year. And as you can see in the back, I've got some set up here, but hopefully around March or April of next year, I'll have this whole thing all set up and everything will look real nice and neat. You'll be able to see a lot better quality, basement, kind of like my movie cave. So today's review is something that is in my top 3 favorite horror films of all time. And oh, by the way, I do plan on doing a video where I name my top 10 horror films of all time. But the movie, as you've seen from the screen saved shot of this video, is Dawn of the Dead. Now, this is the Ultimate Edition. Now, there has been other... The Dawn of the Dead, just like Night of the Living Dead, has had so many different multiple different releases of these movies. Night of the Living Dead, I don't know, there's probably at least 20 or more different releases of the original Night of the Living Dead. I have Night of the Living Dead. I would love to get the 50th anniversary that Criterion did. I'd like to get that eventually. Dawn of the Dead, they've done the various versions of that on Blu-ray. Now, this is a DVD. Now, I do know that there's a company that released a new version of Dawn of the Dead on Blu-ray. Now, I'm fine with what I've got because this is jam-packed with so much stuff. I mean, you've got like a documentary of pretty much interviewing a lot of the cast, and some of the cast that's in there has since passed away. I mean, this is the late George Romero's classic masterpiece, and you have 3 different versions of this film. You have the U.S. theatrical release, you have the European release, and then you have the extended edition, which is the one that I continually watch today because it's over 2 hours. I believe it's like 2 hours and 20 to 30 minutes long, and it's definitely the version I watch all the time. The other versions are good too, but that's the one I watch. You got a commentary track on each version of it. You've got a documentary of the dead, which was a documentary that Roy Frumps did while he was was in the movie. You got a Monroeville Mall where they filmed Dawn of the Dead. Now, before I get into the review, Dawn of the Dead was a movie that I had wanted to see for many years. Like I said, and a lot of people know on both my social medias, Instagram and Facebook, know that I've been a collector of movies since 1990, and I've been enthralled and obsessed with horror films since 1986, mainly in 87 when it really started. And during that 36 years, I have came to seen a lot of movies, a lot of horror movies, a lot of movies, and this ranked up there at the time before I had seen it. This was ranked up there one I wanted to see, and I didn't get to see Dawn of the Dead in 1979 when it was released because I was only 3 years old, and I didn't get to see it for many years because I wasn't allowed to watch horror movies unless I snuck and watched them or kind of lied to, because my parents were divorced and I kind of lied to see one horror movie anyway. besides all that, you know, I originally saw Dawn of the Dead in 1991. Now, yes, that's only like 31 years ago, and in that 31 years time, it's definitely been in my top 3. I mean, there's 2 other films that are right up there. That's Dead Alive by Peter Jackson, and that's Demons by Lombardo Bava. Those are the other 2 movies that are in my top 3. But so you pretty much know. You just saw me just tell you my top 3 horror films. So, but you don't know the whole top 10. But anyway, Dawn of the Dead. When I saw it at my sister's place, and I loved watching it, and it was great. I mean, the version that we had rented was the United States theatrical version, because this is like, I don't know, 5-6 years before there was actual DVDs, and probably about 7 or 8 before they actually put a DVD for Dawn of the Dead. And I've always enjoyed being. I think it's because it's like they're at Night of the Living Dead. They're pretty much stuck in a cabin or like a house, and then Dawn of the Dead, they're all pretty much stuck in a mall. And I mean, you think about it, if this was the apocalypse and the Walking Dead came back to life, where a better place to be stuck in would be a mall, because you would have, I mean, back in the 70s, there was a lot different than they are today's era, malls were, but back in the 70s, they had like a bank, and they had like a they had like some kind of looked like a little grocery store in there, and they had like an ice skating rink, I think I said that, and then they have like all kinds of other things. Nowadays, and they had guns as well. Nowadays, there's not some of that stuff that was in this movie are not in malls today. Now that I do know that they have food courts like today, but there's not a store where you can, in the mall, where you can go buy guns or whatever. But yeah, that was really cool how they made the storyline where they took these 4 people and they drove on a helicopter and they landed on this mall, and they kind of just stayed there for time. I'm guessing it was like months, close to years, that they had been stuck there. And then when finally a motorcycle gang comes in there to try to take over the mall, they have to fight their way out. But if you haven't seen this, then there's not too many people I know who have not seen Dawn of the Dead. It is definitely A++ classic horror film, classic George Romero zombie film. It is for me, I consider the quintessential zombie film. Yes, there was many horror films and many zombie movies before this, and even George Romero made Night of the Living Dead in this. But to me, this is the definition of a zombie film. And there has been multiple, and there's been different movies that he's done from this, sequels, and there has been all kinds of different ways, different directors and producers, and there was even a famous TV show, The Walking Dead, that made the zombie phenomenon as it is today. But for me, Dawn of the Dead is what led me into loving zombie films, led me into liking George Romero. It also, the cast, Galen Ross, and Scott, I'm not sure how you say his last name, Scott Reiniger, I guess his name is. And then you had Ken Foree, and you had David Emge. And they were a great cast. They just were perfectly cast in the roles that they did. And yes, 2 of the people that played in that did show up as a cameo in the Dawn of the Dead remake, which I just recently watched. Not bad. And Dawn of the Dead remake is not that bad of a movie. It does have pretty much the same storyline as this. There's a little bit different stuff that goes on, and the zombies are more like kind of like running. And this one, they were just kind of like slow, and the makeup was definitely different from what it is today. And Tom Savini, who did the makeup, actually shows up in this Dawn of the Dead movie as one of the motorcycle gang, and he did a great character performance in that, and he did show up as his cameo in the Dawn of the Dead remake. But all in all, Dawn of the Dead has got blood, gore. It's got a great storyline. It keeps your interest from minute 1 to the end of the movie. For me, there's not much I can say that hasn't been said already, but for me, Dawn of the Dead, I always watched it for many, many years, at least 3 or 4 times a year, and I kind of, where certain movies that I really, really enjoy, I try to narrow it down to at least watching them twice a year, because I want to keep that me loving the movie so much. Now, I mean, there's other things like the TV show Friday the 13th, the series. I watched that multiple times throughout the year, but that's like a 45 minute show. This is like a almost 2.5 hour movie, and for me, it's really great. I never get bored watching it. I've always enjoyed, like I said, from minute 1 to the end. And I love the storyline. I love the direction. I love the photography. I love the screenplay. I love all how it starts in the beginning and how it starts in the middle, and then you lead up into the end. I feel for the characters as I go along, and that's not well. You don't see that a lot in horror films today. There is certain ones that you do that lead into the character, and you learn more about each character, and you enjoy but not as like they did around the time of the 70s and the 80s, where they actually used a lot of storyline. And this is one in particular that you get to know a lot of the characters a lot more, and you get to know, and you start to connect with them, you start to enjoy them, and you don't want it to end. Because after I saw the movie, I didn't want it to end, because I mean, it's just that good of a film. But I could go on for another 20 minutes, but I try to make my videos not to where they're so long and people don't say, well, I can't just sit down and watch a 30-minute video. So I'm going to try to keep it within the 15-minute time limit, for me anyway. But Dawn of the Dead, for me, is a 10. You know what, since this is my channel, and my last name is Richter, and a Richter scale goes from 1 to 10, I'm going to give Dawn of the Dead a 10 plus. Because for me, I can't say something derogatory about this film. I mean, there's a lot of people who hate this movie, probably. There's probably a lot of people that love it just as much as I do. And there's probably people that have never seen it. But, so I'm not going to give away any of the ending for those people who haven't seen it. But it's a great film. Definitely worth watching more than once. And for me, I'd never get tired of it. And, it's going to be coming up on its 45th anniversary. It's crazy how times have changed and how times have gone by. And also, before I go, the makeup in this was practical. And that's what I like about the 70s and 80s and some of the 90s movies. They did practical makeup. You didn't have CGI like you do now. And that's the thing that I cherish, and that's the nostalgia that a lot of people that are horror fans enjoy, because it's all the practical effects. It's not none of the CGI stuff. So, my name is Brad Richter. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope I get to do another video before the end of the year. And thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing, and I really do appreciate each and every one of you. And I'm amazed that I have 386 subscribers on this channel when I've been on this channel since 2014. I've done videos since 2015, and I'm just amazed and surprised and very appreciative. So thank you for watching this video, and I will check you out on the next one.